Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to No Reservations. Kasey Anton, that's me, Guide to Restaurant Success. And this is episode 7, lucky number 7, which is about creating memorable guest experiences. And this is my favorite topic by far. And if I've said that in the previous 6 episodes, I lied. This is my favorite topic by far. I love this. This is why I got into restaurants in the first place, is because even at a very, very young age, I knew that I love to experience joy. And for me, joy comes from a lot of places, but it comes from these experiences with friends, with family, joyful celebrations, things like that. I wrote all about this throughout my book, Profit First for Restaurants. And in this episode, that is what I'm really going to focus in on. And it's so fun. And yet, I don't see this live and in action in many places that I go. And I really feel like restaurateurs are missing the boat on this. Now, when I think back and I put myself back in my restaurateur shoes, wearing that old restaurateur hat of mine, and if there would be a reason why I would not spend some energy and focus, maybe even some money, but not necessarily, on this topic, on creating positive, memorable experiences for my customers and guests, why would I not do it? And I don't think there's any good reason not to. I would say if I wasn't, it would just be because I was too busy, right? I was doing all the things. And, in my restaurants, it was very, there were very challenging times, more so than I think the good times, where we were just really focused on how are we going to make rent or payroll, or how are we going to get the walk-in compressor fixed and things like that. There was always something, right? There was always something going on, going wrong, that took our focus away, took our eye off the prize, to be honest with you, because the prize really is every guest that is willing to walk through your door and spend money. And they should be showered with love and affection. And yes, I absolutely believe that no matter what style, what type of restaurant you are, whether you're a kiosk cafe type in a hospital, you should definitely be creating a wonderful experience there. Or you're a fine dining, you know, pre-fee only chef tasting type restaurant, and that type of restaurant is all about creating the guest experience. But there should always be very thoughtful attention paid to the guest experience, simply because what we do is based in celebration and joy and all those great things. And for you, the restaurant, to stand out, to endear these customers, these clients to you even more than they already are, or for the first time, or however you want to see it, there must be an experience that you are in charge of creating. So make no mistake. It's not about, oh, all my customers come in with a bad mood, for maybe it's your location, whatnot. Maybe you're next to, the IRS tax payment office or something. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. You are responsible for setting that expectation, setting the tone, and for creating that experience. And it's terrible if you're not. So let's just hope that you are. And maybe you're not because you just don't know how, or maybe you think you're not creative. Not true. Everybody is creative. If you think you are not creative, it's only because you have not had the opportunity to exercise that creative muscle that everybody has. Everyone has it. So I'll take that one to my grave. I did not think I was a creative person at all for most of my life. And then when I was kind of forced to think creatively, kind of outside the box, one example I'm thinking of is, when times started to get tough in my restaurant and we really just needed butts in the seats. We needed cash flow. We needed money to come in to be able to pay things. I got really creative really fast on how I was going to make that happen. And that was through a lot of trial and error, which I talk about in my book, Profit First for Restaurants. And I write blog posts and things out. There's a lot of information that I put out there, and there's information all over the world, I'm assuming, kind of about this. But the bottom line that I'm trying to make here is everybody is creative. So you just need to have the opportunity to exercise that fun, easy muscle to bring out. So that's what we're going to do. Now, if you're trying to think like, I don't even know what that means. What is a memorable guest experience? And here's what I'm getting at. On the one end, on the higher end, well, not higher end in terms of money, but on the most popular end, we have singing happy birthday, right? I am sure you have been to one of those restaurants where they gather up as much staff as they possibly can and then loudly and obnoxiously scream, yell a happy birthday song to someone having a birthday. You know what I'm talking about, right? There are some chain restaurants that just, that's what people go there for, because they want to embarrass the heck out of whoever they're bringing for their birthday and have people chanting and singing around them. Nobody really loves it. Well, some people might love that, but I mean, it's supposed to be an embarrassing moment on your birthday, but people will go there just because they're trying to embarrass you, right? I just came back from the Bahamas, so I go there in February with my kids. I think this might be the last year we're doing that as my son's going to college, but we've been going down there for many, many years. We go to Atlantis, and they sing the same Bahamian birthday song in most of the restaurants there. It's rare that I haven't seen it. And we saw it being sung all over the place at this place called Seafire Steakhouse, Seafire Grill in the marina there. And sometimes it's hard to understand because of their accent. So my daughter actually asked the waiter, like, what is this? And she got it word for word. But it is a very fun, very quick, high energy birthday song that they sing so loud and they clap so loud, it embarrasses anyone. But the whole restaurant gets into it. So that is, the top of the line type of crazy experience. Now, can you be more subtle than that? And should you be more subtle? Maybe. There are other ways that you can celebrate birthdays. And if you're not celebrating birthdays in your restaurant, I think that is missing the mark. Absolutely. That is such an easy thing. I mean, how much is a birthday candle? Put that in something. That's crazy not to do that. So that's the low hanging fruit. Figure out a way that you are going to be unique in the way you celebrate birthdays at your restaurant. For anniversaries, that's another common one where I see usually somebody back in the back area, the dessert person can write happy anniversary in chocolate on a plate. Easy peasy, kind of boring, but that's something. I'm not sure how memorable that is. But for you to create something unique for your guest experience, that's what I want you to drill into. So you really need to think about the avatar of your perfect guest, your most common guest, but really kind of like who you would want to be, or who embodies the quintessential perfect guest for you, and what would make them feel special. And you can design a memorable experience around any of that. And if you need some more examples to kind of light your marketing gene on fire, the book Unreasonable Hospitality, I think I've mentioned it before. If you haven't read it yet, get it, by Will Guidara, is amazing. He is a protege of Danny Meyer, who wrote Setting the Table. Setting the Table, smaller book, so easier read, also has some interesting things in there about guest experience as well. I think Unreasonable Hospitality, the whole book is really about that. It's about going way above and beyond to create wonderful, hospitable environments for your guests. And he's got tons of examples. But if you read through the book, and I've read it a few times, and it's just so interesting because I feel like he and I write a lot of like, and had very similar experiences in the restaurant industry. So it's fascinating for me to read the book. But if you read through examples, the common denominator there is literally listening to your guests. I'm talking about eavesdropping on them, like listening to them, not just on what they put on their comments about their steak being overcooked or whatever, or what they write on your reviews online. Although that's a great place to start. I mean, but honestly, I think a lot of people like to go there and complain. So, I mean, there's something to be taken away from that, but that's not really what I mean. I'm talking about having your frontline servers, your staff, the ones who are spending the most time with your guests, really listening in for what they're talking about, what's important to them. And I don't mean eavesdropping in an illegal way, But you'll see some stories, both in the books I had just mentioned, where the server kind of overheard someone coming in from out of town and they're leaving the next morning and they didn't have a chance to try a certain type of New York style pizza. Or maybe it might have been a hot dog from one of the famous hot dog stands. And so they had the opportunity to do this, but they ran out because they knew there was one of the hot dog stands like 2 blocks away. They went and got one, brought it back to the chef, replated it, and then surprised the table with this hot dog cut up with the accoutrements and the table went mad. So think about it. This is just one example. I'm not telling you to go buy a hot dog. I'm just saying you to think about it. Step 1, empower your servers, your bartenders, your front of the line staff, your dining room managers, whoever it is that is an earshot of your guests, to listen for these things, to have an ear to find out what they're talking about and what could make their experience better. Step 2, empower your staff or someone on your team to reasonably go out and get whatever it is that you think will put a smile on their face that's not going to make any other part of any other guest experience suffer in any way. So what I'm saying is, you don't want your server to run, a mile down the street to go get something and leave their other tables unattended. So not like that. It has to make sense where you can send someone to go get this thing, whatever it is, and then you present it in this fun, exciting, surprising way. You will blow their minds. And again, in the book Unreasonable Hospitality, there's a lot of examples of doing that. I remember my own experience growing up, restaurant management wise, at the Chart House restaurant, and just their whole culture and philosophy and how they train all of their staff to do this from the very beginning. I remember there being a story about someone listening for how, I think it was a kid who wanted McDonald's French fries. I think it was a kid that was whining. They didn't want to be at this fancy schmancy steakhouse. They wanted McDonald's. They were, they were whining, and the parents were like, shut up and eat, whatever. And this restaurant happened to be, this Chart House happened to be near enough to a McDonald's. They were able to send someone out to grab a fry, bring it back, make sure they were heated up, and serve this child McDonald's French fries in the red French fry container, so they knew that it wasn't a knockoff, with whatever it is the kid was forced to order. And my God, ear to ear smiles. There's a great story about it. We were all trained on that as I was training in the Chart House. And that's what kind of piqued my interest about hospitality and making these wonderful experiences for your guests. And I was listening to Danny Meyer from Union Square Hospitality Group. He's the one that also wrote the book Setting the Table, also owns Shake Shack, a bunch of wonderful restaurants. One of his quotes, and he's quoted a lot, but it was in another book, and it was said something about make us go bankrupt with your generosity. I mean, I'm badly paraphrasing, but that was his way of training his service teams and his restaurants to say, do whatever you got to do to put a smile on that face to make it special for them. And he trained that way from day one so that all of his staff was empowered to go that extra mile. I think there's examples of, especially in Manhattan, if they ask, how did you get here? Oh, I parked them at a metered spot, whatever. Or they overheard someone say I'm at a metered spot. They would find out what metered spot, ask them what kind of car, what street were they were on, whatever, kind of nonchalantly, not too over the top. However, they could get that information, and they'd run out and they'd feed the meter for the guests so they wouldn't have to worry about running out. Things like that. Like, that's another small thing that may have cost you $2, but goes such a long way. The McDonald's French fries may have cost you $2, but that experience goes miles. So, and then the opposite end of that, and I don't want to end on a negative note, but I'm just thinking I wanted to mention this. The other thing is, you want to find out what your guests and customers hate, which I'm sure you might overhear them, murmuring about what they don't like, and then you stop doing that. It's pretty much as simple as that. Find out what your customers hate, then don't do that. So one thing that I hate is when a restaurant feels the need to confirm my reservation 68 times before I arrive. Now, confirming a reservation is great, and that is a great system, and it should be done. Because that's when people either cancel or, oh my God, we added 2 more, or we're down to 4 instead of 6, whatever it is. So good stuff. But when you do it 68 times, when you text me, when you call me, when you email me, even after I've already responded, super annoying. It makes me feel like I've done something wrong. So on the other side of that, there are things like that when it comes to a guest experience that just don't do. But I am sure as you empower your front of the line, front of the house staff to listen in for these things, and you go online and you read the cringy reviews and the good reviews, or you find out what people don't like, take note and then just don't do that anymore if you can stop. And most people can. But I don't want to end on the note. I just wanted to add that. Creating memorable, positive, wonderful, shock and awe, surprising guest experiences should be really the core of why we do what we do, why we love hospitality, why we're in the restaurant business. So look for those. And there doesn't have to be one way. It doesn't have to be about a birthday candle or an anniversary dessert, although you can start there and that is easy. There could be so many other ways where you find a special way to help somebody celebrate that is low to no cost, but literally will just make them smile because they know that you just thought of them. That's the stuff that endears and makes people so loyal to you, and they will talk about it to everyone they come in contact with. It's so important. It's incredible. If you need any help with trying to figure out what creating a memorable guest experience is, just invite me to come to your restaurant and I'll try it out and I'll give you some ideas. Honestly, I will do that because this is kind of my superpower in doing that. And I love to do it. And I often give out, free advice, and most people don't do it because they don't know who I am. But if you're listening to this, you know who I am. You know what I talk about. You know what I do. And invite me to your restaurant and I will try it out and I will give you some ideas on what you can do for your guests. So that's it. We're at 17 minutes. I don't like to go longer than 20, so I'm going to wrap this up right now. Once again, thank you so much for listening. And if you can share, do whatever you're supposed to do with podcasts so we can spread the word, I would truly appreciate that. Until next time, have a great one.